Hi there. This is a scale model of the Lexus LFA supercar. This model here was commissioned with a seemingly impossible short lead time, but because the client was so good at collaborating, giving me constructive feedback all along the way, it was actually possible to finish this model on time. In this video I'm going to show you the prototypes that I built of the model, as well as the communication I had with the client. That way you can get a view into how it is to build for commissions with Lego models. The story began the 30th of October of 2017. An old friend of mine who worked at Lego asked me if I could build a Lego version of some kind of Lexus. I answered that I'd already begun. Damn, that's fast. Have you used those psychic abilities again? Yeah, I started already in June 2016. Impressive. I expect the task is a Lexus CT200H in scale 1 to 20. And that was because back in 2017 I had already begun construction of this Lexus here, which is now finally completed, and I'm going to make a video of it later. I'm not a big car person, he says, but the ask is for a LFA. I have in my life only seen an LFA one time, and that was in 2014 at Le Mans. You know, before the race starts, people drive their supercars onto the racetrack just for a single lap, and suddenly I could hear this whining noise, this screaming noise, which means that it could either be an LFA or a Formula 1 car with the V10 engine from that era. And it turned out to be a white LFA driving on the racetrack, and that sound, it can make a grown man cry. It's really special, it just sounds amazing. I've never heard a better sounding car. I get the details. The ask is for a 1 to 12 scale model, delivery end of November, and most importantly, no support from Lego. That is, no fast track ordering of parts, no help at all. So I declined, saying that a month to design, build and source the parts is simply too little. He asked me for what a realistic time estimate is, and I replied that it takes me 3 months to build even a mini-level scale car, that is 1 to 20. And the designers of the 1 to 12 models usually take half a year on building such a project. He thanked me for the estimates and will get back to the client. I didn't hear from him again, so how did I end up making this model? Well, fast forward to 10th of November and I get an email, or really I'm BCC'd inside of an email. The first email says that the deadline of November the 24th is impossible, and it asked me to take a look because I'm BCC in this email. And then looking through the email thread, I could see that the customer was Toyota Motor Europe, and that he was now asking for a model LFA in scale between 1 to 10 and 1 to 20. Now this really changed something in me. I wanted to take on this project and finish it on time with as good as a model that I could possibly build. Why? Well, take a look. This is the car that I grew up with. This was the car I convinced my mother to get instead of the horrible Mazda 323. This was my first car. This is a car I bought while living in the US. This is a car I bought after returning from the US. This is my father's car. This is my mother's latest car. And finally, we have my last addition to the stable. Needless to say, I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for this particular car brand. If only the timing wasn't so bad, because we were already nearing the deadline, and on the November 13th and 14th I would be on a business trip out of the country. In the weekend leading up to that, I built some quick mock-ups of the front in order to see if it was even possible. Satisfied with these mock-ups, I sent my proposal Monday morning before traveling to that business trip. In that email I also attached the picture of the C7R and a Toyota I had built at that point, the TS050, in order to show what kind of level of detail they could expect, even though it took me way more than a couple of weeks to build these models. The client, he replied the day after asking for the model to be in matte black with stickers of logos and emblems, as well as a request for an additional car, the WRC Yaris. So we had a call that evening while I was on my business trip, and I explained to him Lego really only comes in this very shiny black, no matte black. I would not have time to build two models, so only the LFA, not the Yaris WRC. And we had a nice chat. He was surprised to know that I was one of the very, very few people who actually bought a Lexus while Lexus tried to sell cars in Denmark. And this model, the final commission model, would be presented as a gift to his boss, Akio Toyota, the CEO of Toyota. No pressure. I followed this up with a mail confirming what we had discussed. The model would be matte black with dark grey windows and delivered at the given time and place. After returning home late Tuesday evening, I started designing and building already before they had confirmed the commission. For the design I used Gritty as a tool that I had made a long time ago, and it's made exactly for this purpose. It helps me get the correct scale of all details. Each rectangle shows a 1x1 Lego plate. The confirmation came that Wednesday, and it included both pictures of the car, pictures for stickers, and they also asked me to include a picture of me with my own Lexus. The way I build Lego models is not very typical. I finish the complete model in some stage, then I put it on a shelf, sleep on it, trying to sleep at least, thinking about how I can improve it, and the next day I rebuild the model. And that is what I was going to do with this project as well, because that deadline was tight. 2 days later, the first prototype was finished. I sent an email with the progress, highlighting that this was a very early prototype. Even though the model was built very, very quickly, there were already some details which were on point. First of all, the use of Gritty allowed me to get the dimensions right, everything from the front overhang to the height of the windows, and that was all correct within the scale of one plate. Secondly, the rear of the car was already very good, with the iconic triple exhaust, the sloping of the air ducts under the rear lights, and even small details such as the fog light, the reverse light, and the third brake light were added. Unfortunately, my initial idea of using flags in the front did not work out well, and I was all in all not too satisfied with this front. The reply from the client came promptly and confirmed what I had thought. Now, to get feedback from a client like this and this quickly is not something that is usual, and it is tremendously good and helpful for the development process of Lego models, because it means that you get additional set of eyes on what you're doing, and not only additional set, but actually the people who will be receiving the model in the end. So that is super, super helpful. Now, since it was weekends, I wanted to try something new that hopefully could help with speeding up this process. So I built an additional prototype. So I had two that I was working on simultaneously. I would update one, compare it to the other, then update the other to something better, and keep that kind of iterative process going. When I sent the pictures of the second prototype, you could then see that I've already started the third. I turned the headlights in order to see if this position would look more accurate, but as you can see on the construction of the prototype 3, I already abandoned that solution, so that was not satisfactory. For the rear, I experimented a little with the color of the license plate, inclusions of trans white on the rear lights, as well as some parts in order to give it more curvature at the expense of the third brake light. Putting the models side by side like this is really helpful in finding out what works best. Already the next day, the client returned with constructive feedback. First, he points out how it is going well with improvements for the side and the rear, but then he goes into depth with the front. The hood should really show more visual length, highlighting the iconic V10 lying beneath. The air intakes could also be more pronounced, as they are also a good visual cue to this particular model. I replied with gratitude of the constructive criticism, as well as pictures of the third prototype, which I had just finished, highlighting the details that are indeed a challenge to get right. There were a lot of changes to the front of this third prototype. The headlights were brick built, which was an improvement. The bonnet of the hood was also rebuilt using stacked bricks this time, as that could provide a gentler slope to the sides. However, the hood intakes became square and small. For the rest of the car, I changed how the side mirrors were mounted to smoothen out the curve on the door, and the side intake were remodeled using the thin flag pieces. The fourth prototype was finished on the Tuesday, 3 days before the delivery. The hood now used a mix of the previously mentioned techniques in order to have both gently sloping sides to enhance the visual length, as well as proper intakes on the top. Other improvements include smaller side mirrors, a simpler and more recessed side window, and everything else on the rear remained unchanged. The client responded very positively, but kept it up with suggestions for improving the hood further. This is also where he brought up the comparison of my work with the initial slogan that Lexus used when introduced in the US back in 1989. I must say I was quite honored by that comparison. 2 days later I finished the fifth prototype, and that was also where I had the stickers made. The first batch of stickers that I got made were on a material that doesn't really work on black Lego pieces, so I had to cycle back to the printing agency and get everything redone, and that's when I had these made, and they work perfectly well. So I could get the logo in the front, the F logos on the side, and of course the logo in the back. The feedback from the client was also incorporated in this fifth prototype, but you have to look very closely to actually notice. I added 2 bends to the hood, one just behind the intakes and one where the front section is attached. This is a similar technique to what you can see I used behind the gentle curve of the roof line. Here you can also notice 2 small bends that help sculpt this curve. In my reply I also attached a version of the fifth prototype with transparent black glass instead of the dark grey, and suggested that this might look better. It was now Thursday, and the client responded with mixed feelings for the glass idea, hinting that the yellowish tint looked a bit aftermarket. He wanted me to test out transparent clear, just like used in the headlights, and so I did. I made the version with trans clear and took photos of it, but knowing that the pictures could be a bit deceitful, I decided to bring all 3 versions to the delivery. Friday, November 24th, I arrived with my girlfriend / social media manager of that time to deliver the model and take pictures as promised. The Lego model was delivered in person, and the client chose the transparent black version as it looked the best in real life. That was it. I was also quite excited, so excited in fact that I forgot to take pictures of the delivery and of myself with this model, but yeah, not everything can be perfect, right? Some days later I sent him the building instructions so that they could repair any issues they would have with the real model. He did get back to me saying that others were interested in it within Toyota, but what would it then cost to get additional copies made? So I took a quick dump of the part from the building instruction. You could see that the price was just around 300 euros, mainly because I've been using stupidly expensive pieces like this 6x14 dark red plate, which is apparently very rare, and so I didn't hear anything more from them since then. But he did send me these pictures showing the model together with a model of the Bella Sky where the conference was held. So that's very nice to see it come together in that little kind of display. This is, however, not where the story of the LFA ends, because I wanted to see, given unlimited time, how much could I actually improve the details, and that is why at the end of 2019 I finally finished this white version. It has 114 parts, or 19% additional parts compared to the black one, even though they are the same size, and that is because I went crazy overboard with improving the tiny details of this model. I've given you exclusive preview to the building instructions in the description below. There's also a link to the building instructions of the black model, but I recommend, if you're going to have a challenge, try to see if you can build the white one, because that is crazy overboard with details. I'll go into details in a video just for the white model. That is it for this video, so thanks for watching, take care, don't ever stop creating, have fun, and see you next time.